So, ladies and gentlemen, welcome back, everyone. Keep conversing on social media using our hashtag EHA2020. We're talking about 5 days of power-packed panel, 180 plus speakers, and 100 plus words daily from the August 31st, today being September 4th. Ladies and gentlemen, India's outstanding diversity of religion, languages, cultures is unique and unmatched. It is blessed with the myriad, the rivers from deserts to green valleys to the highest mountain range in the world, the Himalayas. We have it all in our subcontinent. Well, Ministry of Tourism, Government of India has put the message across beautifully with the slogan, Dekho Apna Desh. Our next session of the day is looking for the traveler with regions ushering in the new domestic travel seeker. Well, the moderator of the session is going to be Veer Vijay Singh, former CEO, Vivanta Baitaj, and currently CEO and MD Trans Hotels. We also have Saubhagya Mohapatra, the Executive Director, Mayfair Hotels and Resorts Limited. We have Chandar Balji, Chairman and Managing Director, Royal Orchid and Regenta Hotels. We've got Suhail Kanampally, CEO, Concept Hospitality, the Fern Hotels and Resorts. We've got Satyen Jain, CEO, Pride Group of Hotels. We've also got Vikram Kota, Chief Operating Officer, GRT Hotels and Resorts. Atul Jain, Chief Operating Officer, India, Sri Lanka and Bangladesh, Best Western Hotels and Resorts. And we've got Arindam Konar, the Vice President, Operations, Fortune Park Hotels. I'd request now if we can have Bhuvnesh Khanna to kindly join us on the screen.
This is one show I really look forward to. These are players who in their own domain are brilliant, right? Veer, of course, has created, I've repeatedly said over the last few days that Veer has created some of the best brands in the country, right? He's been a hotelier of great repute. And I could not think of anybody else but Veer when it came to doing the shows, right? Having said that, I won't take too much time away. Saubhagya Mohapatra, Mayfair, a king of the East, he rules Odisha in the East in his own style, right? Anytime you want to go to Puri for darshan, he's your man, right? I shall come to my brother Arindam Konar, right? मेरी इनसे पहली मुलाकात हुई थी बसंत कुंज में जब ये ग्रैंड के जीएम थे और तब से हमारी ऐसी बनी है जैसे भाइयों की तरह बनी है. ज्यादा अरसा नहीं हुआ पर लगता है सारी उम्र हो गई. I have huge respect for all of you. Arindam, welcome. Vikram Kota, I have never met personally, but I have visited GRT. You set great benchmarks in this industry. Satyen Jain, right? I must tell Satyen Jain, I'm more Jain than maybe he is, being somebody who's not even have cakes and pastries. I'm a vegetarian. Atul Jain, एक ज़्यादा अपने आप को मीडिया में नहीं दर्शाते हैं, but he's a great hotelier, excellent brand, Best Western Hotels. So we shall hear you more. Suhail Kanampally, right? He's coming out of his father's shadow, right? And heads a great brand called Fern, right? So we shall hear more of you. I'm not going to take away any more. Now the onus is on, as the name of the show goes, regions ushering in the new domestic traveler. I shall hand over the baton to my elder brother, Veer Vijay Singh, Thakur Veer Vijay Singh. Hukum.
Thank you so much, Bhuvnesh. If anybody has to get the award for PR Marcom, it has to be you. You are outstanding in the way you keep everybody so welcome, warm, hospitality. We must learn from you. The only thing I think I can't see Suhail. Is he there?
Suhail is there. Suhail is there.
Okay, great. So let me start. I think it's a very, very well balanced, I would say, panelist or the group of people who are going to speak today. We have three owners from hotel groups, very well-known groups. The senior most being Chandar Balji, as you rightly called him, the doyen of the industry. He's been many years with us. We've had two very young hoteliers who are also owners and represents their family. Satyen, I also do take this opportunity of wishing your father a happy birthday. Mr. S.P. Jain, Mr. S.P. Jain's birthday today. I've had the privilege of working with the Pride Hotels for 4 years, and very professionally run, very lovely people, very hospitable. And when you said that you only stay in Pune at the Royal Orchid, I was just thinking Satyan might come in and say, why don't you stay at the Pride? But moving forward, we have Suhail, a very young and bright owner, and I think he's doing a great job with the Fern Hotels. I've seen a great leap in the number of hotels that they have taken over in the last couple of years. So wonderful to have him. He also has properties internationally. And we have very nicely, I think, balanced 4 professionals. And we have Saubhagya Mahapatra. I've been interacting with him. I've gone and seen the Mayfair hotels, and he's got some wonderful properties in the East. And we have Atul Jain from the Best Western. He looks after 3 different countries. And we have Vikram Kota from GRT. And last but not the least, Arindam. I took his this opportunity of wishing him the last. He's been a great colleague. He's worked with us in the Taj, and now, of course, he heads as an operations for Fortune Hotels. So I think I do not want to take too much time. I will come straight away, and as I come to you and you would like to say something more about yourself or about your companies, it will be a pleasure. But before I really go into that, I just wanted to give a small brief. This is a wonderful topic, domestic tourism, regions ushering the new domestic travel seeker. I've been talking since day one that this is the time, not only for India, but I think for every country in the world, when travel is becoming extremely difficult, and especially international travel, they need to concentrate on domestic tourism. India has a very large base, 130 crores, but 500 million Indians are people who travel regularly. More than that, I think we must know that though we get about 10 million foreigners who come every year to India, and out of which there are NRIs and sometimes people who are just taking a hop, step and jump and moving to other countries, we have 24 million Indians who travel every year to different countries. So this 24 million now are not going to be traveling so much because the international travel is yet 100% open. So there's a large segment of people. We have an opportunity to tap this market. Of course, some of the big segments of tourism, as we call the religious tourism, or the wedding tourism, or the medical or the wellness tourism, is something what the domestic tourists are really attracted to, and they come in large numbers. They also now have a capacity to spend. It's no more that the ARRs are going to be lesser if there is a domestic tourist coming. We have seen that in many luxury properties. The large number of Indians are coming and using them. They have a longer staying power, and I think the government of India under the present Prime Minister, Mr. Modi, has taken some bold steps. Prasad, Swadesh Darshan have been some good launches. We've also seen that Northeast and J&K has been strongly promoted. Infrastructure development has really taken place, and we've seen some great airports, railway station, bus stands, and the roads improving. And finally, the Udan scheme has been quite attractive. There are a large number of flights connecting smaller towns and cities, and with very, very special and attractive prices. So with this, I think the domestic tourism really becomes quite an attractive segment to catch. So as I would go ahead and speak, I know time is of constraint, and we would like to see that we manage the time and we give opportunity to this wonderful, I would say, hotel luminaries, and everybody gets a chance to speak. So my first question would be to Senior Most Chandar Balji. Now, this is a common question, and I would like to ask everyone. But my first question, Mr. Balji, to you is that what are some of the key challenges that your company has experienced during this time? And can you just share a very few specific examples in just a couple of minutes? So over to Chandar Balji, please.
I think in March, when this pandemic hit all of us, and none of us expected this kind of a thing to happen. where there is zero business and lockdown and huge overheads, that is, salaries and electricity bills, huge overheads. Then there were interest costs, then there were lease rentals. So all this was there with zero revenue. So it has affected, I think, everybody. So it took a little time for us to come to terms with it and try to reduce the costs, because we didn't want to be too harsh on people also, but at the same time, whatever had to be done, had to be done. So that has already happened now. And things were improving. Then again, another lockdown happened in Bangalore in the month of July. So it went down. So now, again, I think August has improved a little. So be hopeful gradually, but every time it's like a moving thing that, we'll say 3 months things will get all right. Now 6 months things will get all right. I've been talking to a lot of corporates, this international companies in Bangalore, and asking them that, okay, when will business come to normal? And I was shocked to talk to, for example, I talked to Intel yesterday, Intel boss here. He said, we've been asked to work till June, next June. So we are not coming back to office. And so a lot of people are working till 1st of January, they'll review the situation. So that particular whole business which is coming is not there. Now talking of tourists and others, okay, let's forget about these multinationals who are very paranoid and very cautious about everything. Let's talk about other domestic business and all that. Now there what is required is what's already been done now from 1st of September, that most restrictions are gone. Now only thing is that some of the states are still carrying on their restrictions. So I think we all should appeal to them that, look here, whatever restrictions, just remove it and have whatever testing is to be done, do it at the airport, or somebody carries a COVID certificate before that, because that is very, very important. I was hearing Deep Kalra on India Today last night, and he was also saying that they also trying to do that, communicate to the customers that yes, it's all safe, it's not all that bad. Europe has totally opened up and people are traveling. So I think if we communicate that it's safe to travel, and what's happened is now it's cheaper to travel also, because as you were mentioning there, this Udan scheme and all that, and also people have reduced their fares and people cannot go out. I was talking to a friend in Thailand. He said, we are not allowing anybody to come from outside. So that used to be a big competitor to our country. So I think this is a time we should cash in on this as quickly as possible and get these people back into our country, because after 1 year or 2 years, again, people will start going abroad. Because there's nothing like boasting that, we've been abroad, in the summer, rather than saying you Goa and Kerala and all that. So these two years, I would say, for tourism, it can be a golden period, provided we are all working towards cashing on it. That's what I can say.
Thank you so much, Mr. Balji, for sharing some of your experiences. I will now move to Mr. Satyan Jain. My request is that let us just try and talk about the challenges. The way forward we will discuss in the second question. So Satyan, I think Mr. Balji was talking about the finances and the revenues that fell down, and the business that fell down. I know that you are having a portfolio of owned hotels as well as managed hotels. What has been the experience of Pride?
So I think every crisis is an opportunity. So end of March, AeroCity Hotel of ours got confirmed as a quarantine hotel, compulsory by the collector. So initially we were very skeptical. How do we do it? Are we trained to handle it and all? But there was no choice. So once we understood the whole procedure and then we went through it, and with enough safety protocols in place, we realized that this can be done safely without sacrificing our employees' health. So all our city hotels, we registered for quarantine under the Vande Bharat scheme. So most of our hotels were able to run, though the pricing was fixed by the government, but at least we could meet out some of our costs. And much better than shutting the hotel, So that was a good thing that helped us. Another thing which we realized that in a lot of cancellations came in March from Southeast Asia. So moment the cancellations started coming in, we realized that this COVID is going to disrupt business for some time. So we started conserving cash. We put off all our capex plans, which were planned for May. So that helped us conserve some money. And then we started working on cutting our operational costs. So we, in fact, installed 20% of our rooms. We put split units because we realized running chillers and operating few rooms doesn't make sense. So we had the situation that we can operate with lesser rooms also, or we operate the chiller if we have more rooms. We rationalize our people in order to ensure the safety also, because having too many people in a hotel was a risk for the COVID to come in. We shifted all our employees who were very far to our hotel accommodations. So this helped us run operations safely. Also, the senior team came together and we worked on some alternate things what we could do. And the housekeeping team came up with sanitizing services. So in fact, we were running sanitizing services still going on. At least that department could, get their costs recovered. And it was quite in demand because of COVID and once the lockdown was. So now that things are opening up, we are trying to target the weekend business. And of course, wedding, we have done 50-room weddings. Now it's going to 100. But we also put the virtual option where people could log into the wedding because only 50 people can be called. So people were appreciative of that. So I think, and now we have planned out the work from Pride. So these are few of the initiatives that we took up because our core business, of course, the regular services are carrying on. And as the government is pulling out the restrictions, those will carry on forward.
Thank you. Thank you so much for sharing. I think both Mr. Balji and Mr. Satyan Jain are owners also. And so it was a nice perspective. And I think must say that a very fast move that Pride did of taking over quarantine business, bringing in split air conditioners, they're great learnings. So now I will move to Mr. Suhail Kannampillai, who has a different model. I think most of the hotels are managed, and he also has hotels in different countries. So I'll be happy to learn from Suhail what has been his challenges for the Fern, and how has he tackled them.
I should just take a moment. I have feedback from the backend team. Nobody is able to see you, Saugata. You'll have to, you are bottom of screen. People are not able to see you. You'll have to sit up. You'll have to increase the height of your chair or bring your camera down. Sorry, my apologies.
Absolutely fine. Thank you. Over to Suhail.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Singh. So coming to your question, effectively, the challenges we faced, I can bucket them into three main challenges. Number one would be on the human aspect, which is the team that we have across all India and this thing. Number two would be in terms of the property per se, which is shutting down the property and then reopening the property with all the safety hygiene protocols in place. And number three is the demand contraction that we're facing. The financial implication that we're facing as well. So of the three challenges, two are relatively sorted. We're going to see a larger impact of the third and even the first challenge, that is the human aspect, going forward. So if you go to the human aspect, the challenge that has been there primarily is one, convincing employees to come back to work or start working during the COVID period, assuring them their safety first, and then trying as much as possible to, imbibe in them feeling that they can still continue retaining as many employees as possible. So it's unfortunate, but I don't think there's any group that can say they've completely been able to retain all the team that they had. The second challenge in terms of shutting down the hotels, reopening the hotels, I think that is almost through. All hotels that have been shut down, now we've been able to reopen them with a certain amount of, all the safety protocols that we need to do in place, reassure the guests. So that challenge is relatively sorted. The third challenge, which is a financial implication, I think that challenge is just going to build up as the time comes. And it's something that we're going to figure out how to tackle, because so far the hotels that we're managing, they've been able to survive because of the moratorium period. With that ending, we still need to figure out to replan in terms of the financial strategy for the hotel. So that's the biggest challenge that we're going to be facing now. That compounded with the challenge of actually bringing employees back to the hotels as demand picks up. So as the demand picks up, what we've done is we've alienated the human resource from the industry itself. So we need to now look at attracting people back to the industry and then getting them back to work in the hotels. So these are the three challenges.
Thank you, Suhail. Very interesting. I think it's the people for Suhail and Fern. I think rightly put is the people challenge. And I think how do we, so for maybe those people who are listening, there will be a lot of job opportunities as soon as the COVID is over. So now we'll move to Atul Jain, who of course represents Best Western in 3 different countries, India, Sri Lanka and Bangladesh. So Atul, could you share with us some of your key challenges, because being in 3 different countries, and how have you been able to overcome them?
Okay, thank you. The challenges we faced in 3 different countries, there are different challenges. The most important task for us at the corporate level was to keep ourselves motivated, keep our team motivated, and also to engage with our owners. So that was a task in itself. So what we did is, as a team, we decided to form a policy wherein we engaged with our general managers and we hosted a conference for them. It was a 2-day conference, virtual conference, wherein we discussed the hygiene factors, post-COVID discussion strategies, and how to clean our hotels and all that. And apart from that, we did another task that, we started collaborating with our corporate clients through the virtual calls. So the same sales team start giving them presentations that how we would be doing, and post-COVID, what business and safety and security measures we are implementing in our hotels. And, we conducted a lot of training classes for our team, both at the corporate level and also at the property level. But a challenge which I would like to share with all of you is that challenge that in a couple of hotels of ours, before 25th of March, there were some guests staying with us. They are NRIs who were staying to attend some marriages or some personal work. And before they could leave for their respective countries, the government announced the lockdown. So in 2 or 3 of our hotels, we have to keep them with us for almost 70-75 days. And we have to serve them, and while maintaining their safety security. So that was a challenge for us continuously. And then finally, they left for their respective countries. So we are very happy that our team was united and they served them well. As far as other countries are concerned, Sri Lanka, we faced a lot of challenges, and the government announced no movement and business is almost nil. So as Bangladesh, but the good thing is that our hotel is at the airport. At Dhaka airport. So the hotel is 100% occupied by the government and by the doctors. So they could serve, and importantly that hotel did not charge anything from the doctors or the government, and it was free of charge for them. So other hotels also in India, they provided rooms for paramedical staff and the doctors, and that too at the free of charge. So the challenge we faced, but I think that time has gone for the challenge. We have to look at it as an opportunity, and we have to find ways to mend that, how we can do it better in the future times to come. Thank you.
Thank you, Atul. Thank you so much. It shows how a good brand takes care of his customers, and even if there were only 2 customers staying for 70 days, you look after them. Great to see that. I will move to Arindam, and I would like you to just share some of the challenges which not have been covered as yet. You being a very professional company, Fortune Hotels, what are some of the unique challenges that you faced? Arindam, over to you.
Thank you, Mr. Singh, and pleasure to be here. As you rightly said, I'm not going to repeat what my esteemed panelists have already pointed out with regards to costs or revenue opportunities. I think there are just two areas that I would like to focus on. One is, there was a lot of learning on the way. We started off with what we thought was a 21-day shutdown, and then that has now prolonged to more than 6 months. And I think the key element of this whole process was not just what we did in the initial stages, but the learning along the way. The other area that I think as a management company, we must be conscious about is the fact that we must add value to our owners as a management company. And one of the things we did was to maintain an open and transparent communication with the hotel teams and the owners. And we were very blessed because our parent company, ITC Hotels, has been at the forefront of many of the practices that we've now been adopting because of COVID. So we got a lot of best practices from them, which we were immediately able to disseminate around the hotels. We were able to work out a very good certification program with our partners to do our ISO 9000 certification. And I think that helps the brand stand out in a time when people are, doing much more due diligence of choosing their hotels and destinations. I think we were able to provide rate contracts and partnership with aggregators because of our ability to, draw on our strength of the numbers. And simple things like managing AMC costs, OEM engagement, expired items in the store. So these are some of the things that I think we were able to do at the corporate level, which added value. And ultimately, that's what the owners would always want to see is what's my partner or my management company able to provide in times when there are cash flow challenges. So I think that's probably what I would say different from what's already been repeated or told by our
Arindam.
panelists.
Wonderful to see that how you use this time for training and SOPs. Over to Saubhagya. In the east part, West Bengal, Assam, and different parts of the country, what are something different that you experience at the Mayfair Group? We'll be very happy to hear from you.
The challenges that everyone experienced during this ongoing pandemic are unprecedented. Hospitality industry was the first to get this affected by COVID-19 and shall be the last to receive it. And we are also in the same page, Mayfair also in the same page. And out of 5 out of 11 hotels of Mayfair group located in Odisha, we are struck very hard by cyclonic Fani during the May 2009. Our 2 hotels, Puri, remained closed more than 2 months. And due to the extensive damage, we started recovering our lost ground from October onwards. But by mid of February 2020, due to the COVID-19 pandemic, the cancellation started pouring in and the situation further worsened. Due to lockdown, which continued for the next 3 months with zero revenue generation. Even today, as I speak, we are barely registering almost 7% occupancy. We continued zero inflow, uncertainty still looming large. The key challenges that we are continuing to face are salary of 2,500 employees. Even during the lockdown period, we had continued to pay wages to our employees. Not a single hand was retrenched. And during this pandemic, with so much of uncertainty in everyone's mind, keeping the entire workforce motivated, supporting them and their families is every possible way was another challenge that we have faced but overcome. Realigning preparing the staff with the new normal business techniques was no less challenging. We had rewrite our SOPs, train hard so that the safety of our guests and associates and business partner is not compromised. We operate 12 hotels at 10 locations in 5 states. Most of our employees work at cross locations. Mobilizations of such huge task force before, during, after lockdown, during the pandemic with travel restrictions, lockdown situation was the greatest challenge which we overcome by micro level planning and by applying innovative logistic Another major challenges that came our way is that spite of repeated representation by leading industry associations at various platforms, we couldn't get much from the government, but still we tried to manage whatever is possible. And I must tell you, from this pandemic, while we have learned the rectification of life and business from this pandemic. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Saubhagya. Different challenges and a lot happened in Odisha. Thank you for sharing that. Vikram, with GRT hotels, some key challenges, and then we move to the domestic tourism and what we are doing. So next, after you, I will ask Mr. Balji, but please, if you can just share a few key challenges.
Okay, I think good afternoon to the panelists and to the viewers, and thank you, Mr. Veer, for this question. I'll keep it short. I think my panelists have covered most of it. The major challenges as GRT hotels we faced was that the government did not understand that the resorts were the safest places where people could travel even during a COVID, because of the social distancing can be maintained, contactless services can be maintained. Unfortunately, the resorts were closed on the first and they opened the last. So for almost 5 months, we have kept the resorts closed, and we were not able to operate those resorts. And we had to keep the hotels and resorts going because we were not sure when the unlock was going to come up. So as you all know that 50 to 60% of running hotels is fixed costs, and we had to incur these costs because we could not shut it down completely. Because if they tell us to open at the end of a particular lockdown, again to open the entire thing would cost us more. So we were actually keeping on running our pools, and we were, of course, to a minimum, but we were still running the entire facility. So cash flow was a major problem. And another problem was redeployment of our employees. Most of our employees are from other states, and when the lockdown was announced, they could not go back. So most of our hotels had these employees, and we had to make sure that we had to engage them, we had to feed them, we have to make sure that they're comfortable, and importantly, we had to make sure that they were safe. So we had to make sure that they didn't go out of the hotels. So all these were the major challenges, and we had one major challenges. Our GRT hotels has a CSR arm, and we were supporting the government in feeding the COVID doctors, the healthcare workers, and the migrant workers who couldn't go back. So we almost made 3 lakh meals, and we gave it out to all these people free of cost, obviously, and to get together all the resources and the people is the major challenge which we had faced.
Thank you, Vikram. What a nice gesture to see that you looked after these people who were migrants. And also I understand, because we have a resort in the south, and the southern states misunderstood, and they thought the resorts were all water parks, and they didn't allow the resorts to open. So I understand with you. Thank you for sharing that. I think I would now move to the important questions that I also have each of the panelists to please answer. To Mr. Chandar Balji, sir, as you were mentioning, that one of the biggest obstacles for domestic tourism is the various restrictions that have been set up by states. Each state has its own system and own laws for entering them, and quarantine and so on and so forth. So how do you propose to counter them and build confidence for the domestic Indian to travel? Over to Mr. Balji. Please go on.
A couple of examples. Example, Goa was a very safe state, and there were no COVID cases, but they had kept the thing totally locked. They said they will not allow anybody to come in. And then when they allowed people to also to come in, they said there's no liquor, there's no swimming. And in this rainy weather, what will a guy do there? If he can't, why will anybody go to Goa? So now I think, liquor ban has been lifted. Swimming pool is still problem is there. And spas are still grey area whether allowed or not allowed. But they have streamlined the process at the airport. Either you have COVID certificate 48 hours before you walk through, or you get it done at the airport where you do a rapid kind of a test, and I think it takes about totally 1.5 hours it takes for you to get out. It's just like going through customs or something like that. So I think people are improving. They are realizing that yes, without tourism, they cannot survive. State like Goa cannot survive. It's just that we need to also, advertise this fact. I think not many people know that yes, in Goa you can just take a flight, go to Goa, get the test done, and you are out in 1.5 hours. Then, of course, we have a hotel in Brindavan Gardens, talking about domestic tourism, which is about Mysore, about 3 hours drive from there. Well, weekend it is packed, because, it's very close to Bangalore. People are dying to go out. So weekend is doing great business. But of course, swimming pool is not allowed still. And spa is, maybe open now very shortly. So something for people to do. So that is also very important aspect, that when we follow safety protocols, but we have to see that activity. A guy, why will he go there? Now, for example, in Mussoorie, Uttarakhand has not been giving permits for people to go. So I think the hotel is virtually shut. Then a place like Hampi, we have a big hotel in Hampi. Now it's about a 6-hour drive, 6 to 7 hour drive from Bangalore. So it doesn't fit into the drivable holidays which we've been talking about. So that's also a challenge which some of us will be facing, that every destination is not a holiday, not a drivable distance. Then of course Ranthambore. Now Ranthambore are all these parks which are there, Pench and Jim Corbett, where we have resorts. There, of course, during the rainy season, parks are closed. So even if you can drive there, you can't do much. So you'll go there for 1 or 2 days. But any case, I think now September has come, things are going to be looking up. So I think all of us, let's try to communicate to everybody that things are safe, they can go out, so that at least we can cash in on the Dussehra Diwali season. That's the time we should all work out, that okay, destinations, a lot of us are in different destinations. So if we all put up on our website, all our communication, on social media and all that this city, yes, we are safe, it's different. This city, you can come in and you can have a great holiday and go back. So I think that's what we should all work on and try to target that, okay, next month, things are not going to be very hunky-dory right now. But October onwards, let's try to cash in on this business. I think that I'll appeal to every one of us, because rather than saying that, no, government ye karegi, government wo karegi, see, by the time you've seen yourself, the hospitality has been the last thing which is on their mind. So at least let's help ourselves, Okay, God also helps those who help themselves. So I think, let's help ourselves, because we have no choice right now.
Very well said, Mr. Balji. I think God helps those who help themselves. And we can't just keep on sitting down and hoping that the government will do everything. And I think talking about government, we will move to Mr. Satyan Jain. I know that Mr. S.P. Jain has been very actively involved with various associations and bodies. So, Satyan, what role can be played by the hotel associations and the various chain of hotels or group of hotels to liaise with the government and ensure that these obstacles are cleared? What are the key ways to also advertise and promote the individual states for attracting more domestic tourism? Over to you, Satyan.
So I think associations have a key role, because they are continuously making presentations to senior ministers, impressing to them that what kind of impact the COVID has had on our industry. And if they don't take corrective action, then a lot of jobs are being lost. So continuously, we are doing a lot of PR activities to create the awareness of what's happening in the industry, the policies which are holding us back, trying to get some tax breaks. Like, for example, you are aware of the UK, they have given some discount, 50% discount to eat out. So the government requires to give some break in GST and VAT so that the guests are finding it attractive and they can move out and start traveling like before. Also, we are trying that the restrictions, like Mr. Balji also pointed out, that if somebody goes for a holiday, he's expecting a certain ecosystem. So that entire thing has to be there. The permissions have to be there. Recently, now today, Mahabaleshwar has come up with a policy that anybody above 60 is not allowed or below 10 is not allowed. So if you can't take kids for a holiday, then who will go? So, these kind of things are continuously we have to keep impressing on state governments, sometimes central, sometimes local authorities, whoever jurisdiction it is coming, and explain to them that this whole ecosystem works together. For example, a lot of places the tourist attractions have kept shut. Though there are huge gardens and zoos and where there is all the social distancing possible, but just they have passed and stopped these, so that what should a person go and travel for? So I think these are the things which we keep taking up. Also, other than traveling, one key part to domestic tourism is our weddings and MICE. So for destination wedding, they have earlier they had a rule of 50 people in a hall, which is now being shifted to 100. But the association keeps taking up that actually you should have, as for social distancing, according to the size of the hall. If there is a huge 20,000 square feet hall and you have mandated 100 people, it doesn't make sense. So, and similarly, a lot of open venues are there. So I think this is something that we keep trying to. Another important thing is that the government and the association, for increasing the demand for tourism, our borders have been absolutely shut. So international tourists are not able to come. If we open some window for certain location, like for example how Thailand has done, that they have allowed people to come to Phuket, but if they have put a restriction of 30 days you have to come for. Some kind of a restriction and restricting people to a certain geography. So, for example, Goa is a good case where, people can come in with some hurdle of 15 days minimum stay you require to come. And if they open up such a policy, you can have influx of tourists coming in. So I think that is, and I think the government is facing its own issue with, the cash crunch due to the drop of GST. So I think all of us put together, we have to come together. And I think there are two key issues which we have to try to get over. One is the fear factor. A lot of people, because of this lockdown and that the news channels and the government's way of saying stay inside, now people are scared of coming out. People are scared of coming to work. So I think we as association, as well as all hotels, have to first say that we are all safe, we are following all the guidelines and maintaining social distancing. So it is safe to travel. And the government can help out by keeping the tourist attraction also safe. And other thing is that we all have to go put together and promote our destination. If we all are creative, digital marketing, our PR, everything is put towards encouraging and promoting our destination, I'm sure all put together, we can see these customers come back very soon.
Thank you. Thank you so much. I think must appreciate some nice ideas. Rather than asking the government for subsidies or funds, look at ways and means of asking them to give us some concessions. Like if people are using, domestic tourists use MICE, they could get some support on GST waivers or income tax waivers. Great suggestions. Thank you so much. And also how to each one of us, if we can advertise and promote our own destination, it will be great. Thank you, Satyan. We'll move to Suhail. And Suhail, I mean, with your international experience, I was just wanting to ask you, what could be the learnings from the steps taken by other countries through the industry collaboration and minus the government support? What can we do together with other industries, and how can we learn from some of the international best practices?
Thank you, Mr. Singh. And I'd also like to thank Mr. Bhuvnesh and his entire team for putting this thing together. I draw a lot of my inspiration for the answers from the sessions that have happened. Unfortunately, I couldn't catch all the shows, but whatever I caught has been really good.
Thank you. Thank you.
Yeah. So, like Mr. Mohapatra also said, we're going through an unprecedented time. Our solution to this needs to be unprecedented, it needs to be innovative, and it needs to be collaborative. We all know that in India, we've got so many multiple tourism associations and all our associations are busy right now trying to liaise with the government to protect the interest of all its members. But my only grouse to that would be that they're overwhelmed and completely consumed by only fighting with the government. There's a lot more that the associations can do, which is, to getting people together. So for 19 years that I've been in the industry, and all you stalwarts much longer than that, there's one complaint I hear year on year. It's that the government doesn't support the tourism industry, right? So Einstein defined insanity as doing the same thing over and over again and expecting a different result. We're not going to get it. What we need to do, that's where we need to come in. All the other countries have got government support. If we leave that out and say, okay, fine, we're not going to get any governmental support, what can we do together? The industry today is sitting on one of the largest databases. We have so much data. We just don't use it. Okay. There are three main parameters that we operate this industry under, right? The first being our people. Okay. The second is our guests. And the third is our properties. These are the three stakeholders for the industry. Under our guests, I include the travel agents, the tour operators, the bookers, the actual people who are staying. Our people are obviously the backbone for the industry, and our properties become the hotel owners, the brand, and the operators. So if we look at it, we've actually let down two of these three aspects completely during this our people and our properties. Okay, the only aspect which we're taking care of and we're really doing a lot is towards our guests. We're ensuring their hygiene, their safety. That is completely focused. All of us have taken complete effort to be able to establish their safety. What can we do for our people and for our properties? Now, with the association help, if we can put together a voluntary database across the association, one to address grievances of employees, from both sides. I mean, there's obviously going to be grievances from both sides. If we have a voluntary database where, one advertises about the industry to employees, because we're going to lose faith in the public in general on the hospitality segment. And we need to rebuild that to attract people to come into the hospitality industry. Otherwise, we're going to have a huge manpower issue going forward. So as an association, if we get together, create a database of all the people, their grievances can be addressed. That's one big step that we can take. The other thing is for our properties. If we can work on a cost optimization, today we have a lot of back of the house departments. We have a lot of the front of the house departments as well, which can collaborate together. So for example, like the engineering department, if we set up one engineering department across the chains, that can take in, each hotel has its own head, but the utility force gets common across the hotel chains. That will help the cost impact in hotels hugely. The other aspect is, as mentioned by both Satya and Mr. Balji, is the destination marketing. We need to put our egos aside. We need to look at advertising and marketing destinations as a whole, rather than individual hotels each doing their marketing. We did this activity for Polo Forest, and we actually got even governmental support where the Chief Minister himself started tweeting about it. As a result, the hotel has been packed even during the pandemic. So, I mean, that's where we've got to learn. We've got to become collaborative. And if that means picking up the phones, talking to each other, that's what needs to be done today.
Thank you so much, Suhail. What do we expect from a young can I call you maverick, than somebody to say that let's stop just cribbing, let's look forward, let's come up with very nice innovative ideas and creative ideas, and let's collaborate. So that's wonderful. I thank you so much. I will now ask Arindam, who has a lot of years of experience of operations. How could the hotel operations be better equipped for the intricate needs of the domestic traveler? And how would hotels work along with governments to promote destination by co-optation? How we can work together with the government and co-opt and work together? And what are some of the intricate requirements of a domestic traveler? If Arindam, you could share that.
Sure, sir. Thank you for the question. I would like to talk about two categories of Indian tourists today. I think the pre-COVID usual domestic traveler or holidayer is one thing that eventually will travel. But there is a pre-COVID outbound Indian traveler who will now be traveling domestically. And I think that is the biggest opportunity that the hoteliers have today. And that's exactly the reason why we are all talking about and identifying what we could do. Most holiday destinations are prepared for the usual domestic traveler. I think the opportunities I mentioned is essentially for the people who are used to traveling abroad. First is seasonal trends. I think India has the opportunity for seasonal trends. We need to look out for varying school holidays. For example, the South has a holiday, summer holiday from April and May, while the North India has May to June. So essentially, we could stretch a season. We need to look out for festival holidays, Onam in Kerala, Durga Puja in Bengal, and so on and so forth. And there's again going to be very specific opportunities there. Specific destinations for specific domestic markets, unfortunately, we haven't tapped it in the past. For example, Gujaratis will travel to the Himalayas during a specific time of the year, and South Indians will travel in a different time of the year, and the Bengalis will travel in a different time of the year. And what we essentially do is we just blanket market all across the country and not specific to specific. So I think seasonal is one. The other thing is about food and beverage. Some people say that I live to eat and some people say I eat to live. Indians, you cannot take food away from them. And the pendulum is now swinging from total traditional regional cuisine, which is what the Indian consumer wants. For example, the Gujaratis who will travel with their Maharaja. And on the other side, you've got the millennials who are wanting to experiment, wanting to go global, wanting to go international. That is going to test the competency of our team members and the aptitude to be able to create a good food and beverage option. The one thing that I think we should all focus on is family travel. Family is extremely important for Indians. You will see foreigners traveling as couples or even as individuals, whereas we tend to travel as a family. And there are two specific areas I'd like to focus on. One is senior citizens. We like to travel with our parents. They are very important to us. And I find that many hotels are not prepared to or geared to handle senior citizens. And I think going forward, if the hotels are not geared to handle senior citizens, they're likely to lose business. The other is kids. Today's kids are very different from, the gulli danda days or the cricket days that you could play in the lawn. Today's kids are, Wi-Fi. Today's kids need, a lot of technology. And I think that's something that we need to prepare for. The other thing is about the price point sensitivities. As they say, mano ya na mano, we Indians are not cheap. I don't think Indians are cheap. We are just bargain hunters or value conscious. And to that extent, we will have to prepare to offer a value proposition. And the Indian will not pay anything more than what we deserve. However, we also know that when Indians go abroad, the amount of money they spend is much, much higher than an average Chinese or an average Southeast Asian and so on and so forth. So there is money in our pockets and we need to know how to take that out. And that all comes from value proposition. And one of the things we need to do is what I call as anytime, anything demand. We're all familiar with breakfast going on till 12 o'clock, 1 o'clock in the afternoon. And while the time the hotels are turning around the breakfast, there is time for people coming in for lunch. So anytime, anything demand is something that we need to prepare. Especially for the people who are willing to pay. And again, it's all a matter of taking out as much money out of the customer's pocket as you can, because that's what the opportunity is. Indian travelers are very impatient. I think they need to do things. They are not the kind of people who will laze by the poolside, read a book, or they will, go to the bar and have a drink. they want to do things. They're very impatient people, and so they want spa, they want beauty treatment, they want shopping, they want games, they want entertainment. And guess what? All this is revenue opportunity for us in the hotels. And we sometimes find a hotel to say there is only that much we can do, and then the kids or the ladies will come and say, "Yaar, hum bore ho gaye." So we have to create these revenue opportunities. There are going to be two kinds of travelers. The package tours or the itinerary tours will continue, and so therefore we need to engage with the travel trade extensively. Some of the panelists talked about how the industry can come together. I think the travel trade and the hotels can come together to create these exceptional packages and itinerary tours. But then the new age travelers, they are looking at bespoke, boutique, very specific, purpose-driven holidays. And this is where the money is, in my view. So if you look at adventure travel, wildlife travel, health and wellness travel, I think if you're able to find that niche, and hotels today are able to find that niche, we'll be able to make tons of money. Lastly, I think Wi-Fi is going to be very important, and I keep on saying this anywhere I go. And a lot of hotels don't pay attention to Wi-Fi because it is, of course, an expense for which you don't make money anymore. But with what is happening with the duration of stay inside the room becoming more and more important, I think Wi-Fi will play a very critical role. As far as cooperation is concerned, I think Mr. Balji has talked about it, Suhail has talked about it, Satyan has talked about it. I would just give one example, and that is the KTM in Kerala, and how KTM brings together the government, brings together international tour operators, domestic tour operators, travel agents. And they've year after year, they've created this model which is like fantastic. And I always wondered why the other states can't do it. And if one state can do that kind of an event once in 2 years, I think India as a whole can do many more. So I would leave it at that.
Thank you so much. I think very well explained. It was a large question to explain, but very well explained on the requirements of the domestic traveler. And very clearly, we have to have different strokes for different folks. Let's move to Atul Jain. And to him, I would like to say, what would be the key segment breakup of the domestic travelers? And in which segments do you think and you see a large growth?
So I just want to flag one thing with you, Veerbhai. 12 minutes to go.
I know, so I've got just 2 more left. So I want to request Atul to do it in 4 minutes, and let's move 4 minutes each.
Yes, I'll make it sweet and short. So when we look at hotels as a business model, the major source of revenues are divided into 2 rooms and the F&B. I think it's a time for the hotel team and we at the corporate level to brainstorm, to analyze the data and look at that which segment is moving for a particular hotel or particular location. But in my opinion, that the segment which can move domestically is the drivable leisure and the business travel. The people who like to go and travel out and venture out. So obviously, they are not going to take flights. It's expensive, but they can drive down. So they can enjoy the drive, and one option could be a drivable distances. Second option is the pilgrim travel, which I see is going to be moving very fast. And being coming Ayodhya now, Ayodhya could be another destination for a pilgrimage travel. Staycation, yes, we look at some opportunities where people are working out of hotels, but not much has been done. Of course, the wedding and the food and beverage will play a very, very important role. And as my panelist has mentioned that weddings, small weddings are opportunity for us. We have to look at as opportunities. And another opportunity which I see is that the companies have asked their employees to work from home. So while working from home is good from the employer point of view, but from the employee's point of view, it's not as good. Initially, it can look good, but over a period of time, it becomes difficult to keep their momentum high and their confidence level. I think the companies can look at opportunities where they can hold small meetings, conferences, out of their home, get together for their employees, where they can brainstorm, where they can, employee motivation and team building exercises can be done. So in my opinion, these are the segments which can move immediately fast. We can look at other options as the NRIs traveling back to India once the flights have started. So in short and sweet, I think other panelists have covered a lot. So I think that we should focus on these areas so that we can maintain our revenue level to an optimum level. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Atul. And of course, the wedding segment, which is one of the largest segment for us, so we also can look at that. I think I'll now move to Vikram, which is a question that I want to ask you is, what are some of the other opportunities that the hospitality can seek from the domestic market besides the traditional streams of revenues? To you, Vikram.
Yeah, thank you for that question, Mr. Veer. And respecting the lack of time, let me talk in bullet points. I think what is the need of the hour is to be agile and responsive to the situation. And as you know, disruption is the mother of creativity. So people have to look at different avenues of creating revenues, especially the domestic market. So there is a lot of business which is coming from the government. In fact, we had a lot of emergency doctors and healthcare workers who needed accommodation, and we could open our hotels for them, and that was one of the avenues of revenues. We also floated this work from hotel rooms with a view. So our hotels and our resorts have beautiful locations, and people would love to actually sit in the room and look at the swimming pool and work, and yet they were very close to the metro cities within an hour's drive. So this is one of the things which was very successful for us, and a lot of companies came forth and wanted to sign up with us. And now, as you know, since the kids are also studying online and people are working from home, there is no weekend and weekday. So we have floated long stay family packages. People were in containment zones and they wanted to come into resorts and hotels, and they wanted to actually stay together and work as well as study. So we had floated a package, and that is doing pretty well. So we did a minimum 7 days package, and it could go on. And we had, in fact, a family move in for almost 6 months. They committed 6 months. They're going to think. They gave up their apartment and they moved into the hotel. And of course, we also have the minor operating departments like salon services, spa services at home, and chefs at home. And we are also looking at some of our regular guests were asking us to hire our cutlery and crockery so that they can throw parties at the home for their families, and which we also thought it was a good avenue for another source of revenue for us. We also started our food delivery with a little difference. We are also doing do-it-yourself kits, so that it is not the food which is made at the hotels or a dark kitchen and given, but the entire kits with the chef's explanation of the menus, and these are made by the people at home, and they also feel participative in it. And we also we have large banqueting halls. So we have tied up with some of the companies for co-working. We had to repurpose the halls a little, and then we gave it out for co-working spaces, and that was a good one. So these are the ones, and of course the advance, the vouchers which we were selling, so that we could get in cash flow, so that we had a validity for almost 6 months, so that we could get immediate cash flow and we could keep our hotels going. So with that, I think I will end my...
Thank you, Vikram. I think you really covered a lot of these points. They say necessity is the mother of invention, and some great ideas that came through you, and I really appreciate. Saubhagya, to you, the last but not the least, which are the states which have the largest domestic travel base? And what are some of the unique segments that you see that are emerging in the near future? Over to you, Saubhagya.
Thank you, Mr. Veer. I know there is a short of time, but still let me also get into the bullet points. As per the Ministry of Tourism statistics, Tamil Nadu leads the charts with 21% domestic tourist footfall, followed by Uttar Pradesh with share of 15%, Karnataka enjoying 12% footfall, Andhra Pradesh 11% share. But biggest contributor to domestic tourism are West Bengal, Gujarat, Maharashtra. These are the states. India's steady tourism compound annual growth rate reached around 13% during 2018 and 19. Since 1991. Post COVID-19, there is a bound to a massive decline in inbound sector, but the loss shall be compensated by domestic tourism. In my opinion, the unique emerging segments in immediate and near future from domestic market which shall stay for a long are spiritual and religious tourism. People have been locked down or stranded for last 5 months, long enough to visit spiritual religious destination. And once the religious places are reopened, some of the states also not opened it, there shall be a massive surge. The series spiritually shall be in much demand in coming days, especially after the psychological changes that masses have gone through during the ongoing crisis. And next tourism segment, what I feel, adventure tourism, visit to hills, mountain treks, river rafting, camping, free flow water sports, etc. shall be sought. The most domestic travelers are the places are less visited and do not offer much human contact. This segment shall be more preferred under new normal. And the next segment is heritage and cultural tourism. Every state and region of India has piece of history attached in the form of monuments, temples, churches, heritage sites, cultural extravagances, and etc. For domestic market, this segment by and large has been untapped as it was mainly patronized by foreigners. Under the new normal, in search of safe and less crowded options, Indians will venture in this segment. Wellness tourism, the next segment, which I believe will rising health concerns a new normal. People will tend to stay healthy more than ever and shall prefer time-tested, ancient treatments like natural therapy, Ayurvedic treatment, massages, etc. And in a serene, pollution-free environment, which will become the instant hit among the Indians. And definitely last, the wedding and social functions. Almost, I think, Mr. Atul has already mentioned, many weddings related celebrations and social functions scheduled over since the pandemic have been put on hold. With things coming back normal with restriction being lifted, the segment will see the huge surge and shall be severe for all hospitality industry. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Saubhagya. I think I must appreciate all of you for maintaining a wonderful timing. Great to listen to all of you. And I would first ask Mr. Bhuvnesh to please speak something in close. Or
no, Veer bhai, aap close karo, and then I shall Veer.
Okay, I'll just take half a minute. I mean, I was so happy
Please go ahead. Please go ahead.
I'm so happy to see a very nice panel which consisted of owners, management experts, and operators. And I think you all have given us a great learnings to all of us to take back. And for many viewers, I hope, who have been watching, thank you so much. And thank you once again, Bhuvnesh. Thank you, Hotelier, BW Hotelier. What a lovely gesture at this particular moment. You have really touched the heart of each and every hotelier in India. Thank you so much. And to you, Bhuvnesh.
Thank you for all your support. It's always an honor. It's always an honor for me to get a session taken in by Veer Vijay Singh ji. आप कुछ बोल रहे थे चंद्रपाल जी?
I just said सुबह जरूर आएगी, सुबह का इंतजार कर.
बिल्कुल सुबह जरूर आएगी, बिल्कुल आएगी. मैं आपको बता रहा हूँ, हम लोग फालतू में हमने कितने देखे, हमने पार्टीशन देखी है. पिछली दफा मैं और चंद्रपाल जी इसी की बात कर रहे थे. हमारे माँ बाप ने पार्टीशन देखी है, 84 के राइट्स देखे हैं, 93 के राइट्स देखे हैं. ये भी निकल जाएगा. अरे डोंट वरी. आई मीन जहान है तो जहान है, ये याद रखना. मैं आपको
our properties are intact. You see, if you had a tsunami or an earthquake, the properties will also be destroyed. At least
True.
we are lucky that we look at the positive point. These are at least intact, and we should bounce back very soon.
Sauvagya has even come out of that.
Yes.
This has been this is the penultimate show. We have the last of the 5 days, last show of the 5-day summit coming next after you. It's been a wonderful show. This is a great show. Imagine having 8 of you over here, led by Veer Bhai, Chandrabalji, Vikram, Sauvagya, Atul, अपना सत्यन, सुहेल सबसे छोटा, and अरिंदम कुनार, right? So मतलब आप बताइए इससे अच्छा शो क्या हो सकता है? मैं आपसे एक सवाल पूछना चाहता हूँ. If I was to do a special day, would you all come on that?
Of course.
Right.
Of course.
Why not?
You will?
Of course, of course.
I'm in.
So
I think you know
I
that
shall be
answer.
doing another special one, and it may be a couple of weeks to 3 to 4, maybe 5, but I shall do one, and we shall all get together and focus on how to get them in. The question that I had was on religious tourism. वो सौभाग्य ने मेरे से छीन लिया. Right? So I'm blessed to have been able to do this show with you, Veer Bhai, Atul ji, Chandar ji,
My honor.
Arindam,
Thank you so much. Thank you.
Satyen, Sohail, Vikram, and Sauvagya. God bless you. Keep coming back. BW Hotelier will keep raising the bar. Bye-bye.
Thank you so much.